In this video, we will show you how to replace your power steering rack bellows boot on this Ford F-150. This is part of your front steering and suspension located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's prepare to remove our driver's side front wheel. To do this, safely raise and support the front end of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. After you've completed that, we're going to remove our center cover. To remove your center cover, you're going to find that there's a small slot on the cover itself. You can make your way in between and gently pry. Once you've removed your center cover, a quick inspection will set that aside. Now that exposes our 6 21mm lug nuts. Let's remove all those so we can remove our wheel. Now that we have the wheel off, let's have a quick look at where our outer tie rod end and our inner tie rod end meet. In this area, you're going to find a 24mm jam nut. I like to use some long pliers for this. We're going to turn it clockwise to break it free. There it is. Once you have movement from there, we can continue on. We'll start separating the outer tie rod end from the steering knuckle next. You'll find a 21mm mounting nut up along the top. We'll remove that, just give it a quick inspection. Start it back on a couple threads. Now let's separate the outer tie rod end from the steering knuckle. If you have a specialty tool, you can use that. Otherwise, just use a hammer along this area. A couple light taps should break it free. A quick note about this job, you will need a 4-wheel alignment once it's complete. Now it's time to remove the outer tie rod end from the inner tie rod end. We're going to be turning this counterclockwise. As we spin it, count the amount of turns it takes to remove it and write that number down. 1, 2, and so on. Your results may vary. All right, I got 31 turns. Your results may vary as I mentioned. Next, we need to remove our jam nut from the inner tie rod end. For this, we're going to hold onto the inner tie rod end shaft. You can use some locking pliers if necessary. We'll be using our 24mm down on that mounting nut and fully remove it. Okay, got our gun on there. Just get that off of there. Looks like it's a little hot. With that out of the way, let's make our way up the inner tie rod end towards where the bellows boot is. At the very end of that power steering bellows boot, you're going to find a metal squeezable clamp. Go ahead and squeeze the 2 ears together and remove the clamp from the area. For this, I'm just using some long nose pliers. It's under spring tension, so we'll be extremely careful here. Slide that off of there. Just a quick inspection. Set that aside. Now here I'm using a pick with some lubricant on it. I'm going to make my way around this area to break it free. Now as we make our way along the bellows boot towards the power steering rack, you're going to have an inboard clamp as well. Commonly for these clamps, it's a single time use clamp. You just want to go ahead and break it off of there. For this, I'm using a pry bar and a hammer, a couple light taps, should get it broken free. This one looks like it's been replaced with a wire tie already. Go ahead and take hold of the bellows boot. We're going to give it a little twist. We're trying to separate it from the power steering rack. Now once you have some movement there, we'll continue on along this end. Should be able to slide that right off of there. There it is, friend. Just a quick inspection and we'll set that aside. Okay, now it's time to install our brand new bellows boot. We'll start getting this into position. We need to have our inner tie rod end slide through that boot. Now we're going to take the far end, the wider area, and that's going to slide over our power steering rack. Once we have it on there and completely bottomed out, make sure you clamp it down with something. You can use a wire tie. We made it to our lubricated area on that shaft. Prior to installing any type of clamp, whether it's a wire tie or clamp in this area, you need to confirm you're properly seated. That feels good all the way around. Now I'm using my wire tie. Just going to get this started out in the open where I can easily gain access to it. We'll slide it into the proper positioning on the groove. Go ahead and tighten that wire tie and trim off any excess. Just make sure that's nice and tight. Take hold of the boot and attempt to remove it from your power steering rack. It should not slide out of place. Now it's time for the outer portion of the bellow boot. You can either use your original clamp if it's still in good condition, or once again use a wire tie. Now I'm going to use some anti-seize approximately halfway down this threaded area here. We'll apply some of that. Install our jam nut. Just going to bring this halfway to 3/4 of the way down the threads, and we can continue on with our outer tie rod end. We'll apply some anti-seize to the threaded portion of the inner tie rod end. Now it's time for the outer tie rod end. When we install this, we want to make sure we install it the same amount of turns as it took to remove it originally. Let's line this up. So here's 1, 2, and so on. It's time to align that outer tie rod end with our steering knuckle. We should be able to pivot this as necessary. Now as we bring this into position, we have our mounting nut. Now we can get our outer tie rod in place up against our steering knuckle. We'll slide it right in. After that, go ahead and start on the mounting nut. We'll bottom this out. The torque for this will be 76 foot-pounds. Let's get this torqued. Now we're paying attention to our jam nut here. We'll go ahead and turn this counterclockwise, snugging it up against our outer tie rod end. That's what locks it in. After snugging that, just make sure the tie rod end is level to the ground. Let's prepare to reinstall our driver's side front wheel. We'll get it in place and start on all 6 of our 21mm lug nuts. For the lug nuts, we're going to start each of them on. Once they're all started on, we can bottom them out. We'll get the wheel safely back down on the ground. Now with the driver's side front wheel down on the ground, we can continue on torquing each one of our 21mm lug nuts to 150 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Now if you have a center cover, let's install that now. For the center cover, there's one area that you want to pay attention to. You're going to find that you have this small prying area. If you were looking at the rim itself, you'll find that you have a notch to align that with. The notch is going to be located closest to your valve stem. We'll align this and tap it into place. Double check, make sure it's secure. After finishing this installation, it's important to have an alignment done on your vehicle.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.